Oh, I lost that. I can't believe I lost it. Okay, I just need to make a great play to win this time. Alright, stay focused. And dang it! Dang it! Come on! Gotta make something work! Oh. If only I knew how to make an epic play. Yo, Bubble Ichu here, and today I'd like to provide a comprehensive overview of epic plays, when to make them, how to prevent them from failing, and how to get more impact out of each of your epic plays. This video will be geared towards Maisie in particular because she is my best brawler. However, I've designed this in a way that it should be applicable to at least half of the cast. If you're looking for a guide to Maisie in particular, click the link over here. Epic plays are usually high-risk, high-reward actions where you use a bunch of utility to get multiple kills or complete some sort of game objective. They're often the turning points of battles, ones where my randoms snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. They'll try to make an epic play without the motive, means, or opportunity to do so, and they'll fail, leaving me incredibly frustrated. These are the three things you need in order to succeed at a great play, and if you're even missing one, you might as well not go for it. The first item I want to look at is means, because means is the simplest. It's just asking, do I have the resources I need to create a great play? If I don't, then I need to get them. The next item is motive. If means was the how, then motive is the why. You're using a lot of resources to make this play, so is it worth it to make the play? What are you trying to accomplish? If you're winning, is there some sort of safer play you can make instead, one that's perhaps less flashy but less risky? If you have the means and opportunity to make an epic play but you lack the motive, what you're likely going to end up doing is wasting utility that could have been used better if you had waited. A good example of this is coming up, so I'll just let you watch it. Now, what I did was absolutely epic, for sure. I got a team wipe, then I scored a goal. There's not much more you can ask for. The problem isn't with my execution, but with my resource use. When you watch it this time, ask yourself if I need to use my hypercharge. I don't think I do. The only thing my hypercharge did was kill the Mortis, who was already one-shot. And I had the ammo to kill the Mortis as well. Looking at the play in general, a hypercharge, a super, and a gadget for a triple kill, a goal, and getting your super back is absolutely a fair trade. But in this case, the hypercharge was unnecessary, and I could have used it in a better situation later in the match. More obvious case of poor motive is shown right here with the Gale. His motive for using that hypercharge was, I can hit all three people with the super, and that is absolutely not a good enough motive to justify using your hypercharge. I'd say a hypercharge is worth about a kill and a half, though this is slightly different for each hypercharge. And if you're not reaching that threshold, there has to be some other reason for you to use it. Either you're scoring a goal, or you're staying alive, or you're stopping a gem countdown, something like that. Supers and gadgets vary too much for me to even provide an estimated amount of value, so you're just gonna have to figure that out on your own for each individual brawler. Moving on to opportunity, which is by far the most complex of the three topics that I'd like to talk about today. I'll provide a shortened list of qualities that determine whether or not you have a good opportunity, then I'll go over some of the more important ones in detail.
Hey, enough about you! Let's focus on me!
Reminder, that was a shortened list. For everybody's sanity, I think it's better if I don't reveal the longer list. But if you subscribe, I might make a post on my YouTube channel with the longer list, and you won't be able to see it unless you're subscribed, so subscribe if you want to lose your sanity. Thank you. To go over some of the more important details, let's start with range. And no, I'm not referring to something concrete like attack range, but rather the idea of the amount of distance you want to have between you and your opponents when you start your epic play. Usually this means determining whether or not your opponents are too far away, but this also applies to close range as well. if you're in a melee brawl with someone, it might not be the best time to pop your hypercharge. Knowing the optimal range will be something you get with practice, though if you want to speed it up, head to the training cave and test out what ranges are barely hits and what ranges are barely misses so that you can get a better judge of them in real battle scenarios. The next important metric is HP. And I'm being dead serious here. The amount of times I have seen someone try a play that doesn't work because they are at 2 HP is insane. Knowing what HP you need to be at is hard. The general rule I go with is full health is good and sometimes not necessary. Of course, the actual number depends on what brawler you're using, what specific utility you're using, the HP that the enemy's at, the ammo the enemy has, the utility the enemy has, yada yada yada. You can remember all of that and keep track of all of that in your head in a real-time scenario, or you can just remember that full health is good and sometimes not necessary, and you can find out what that sometimes is with game knowledge. The last important thing to keep in mind is if the opponents can counter your epic play. Do you really want to use Bull's Hyper and Super into a Charlie that has Super? You're just going to get cocooned, and that's a waste of a Hypercharge and a Super. If the enemy has a hard counter to your play, you either need to make sure that they use that counter before you make the play, or you need to be in a position where them using the hard counter doesn't matter. The best way to do that is to bait them into using the counter before you fully commit, but that's going to be harder and harder to do against better players, and oftentimes at high level, you either need a teammate to bait the counter for you, or you need to bait the counter for your teammate. This isn't something I do with randoms, though, because when you're doing this with randoms, the motive isn't I'm doing this for my teammate to succeed. The motive is I'm doing this because I hope my teammate will see that they can succeed now. While the play may be the best one on paper, the uncertainty that randoms provide makes it a lot less viable when you're risking everything for it. And that concludes our relatively shallow dive into opportunities. And I wish I could say otherwise, but honestly, the best way of understanding whether or not you can make a play in a situation is failing in that situation and learning from that failure. So let's look at some examples where I've succeeded and failed in judging whether or not to make a great play. Alright, so here's the play in question. I want my teammates to be able to kill the Primo while making it harder for the Sam to defend the goal, and if possible, recharging my Super. I have my Super, have a guaranteed hit on the Primo, and while the Sam currently has invulnerability shield, I've timed my Super so that it will hit him after the shield expires. There are still uncertainties, namely whether or not the randoms will kill the Primo, and if the Primo will charge his Super off the damage he's taking. But all in all, this is a low-risk play, we go for it, and it turns out to be the right option as we scored 10 seconds later. All in all, this was a pretty simple case. It wasn't a high-impact play, but because it was a low-risk play, that is perfectly fine. Remember, not every epic play has to result in a team wipe. It just has to provide value and get you closer to winning. Let's analyze something a little more complicated now. At a first glance, this seems relatively similar to the last scenario, but let's look at it a little bit deeper. I have my Super and Gadget, and I have a guaranteed hit on both the Fang and Draco, but it's not really clear what my motive is. I can't kill the Fang because the wall the Fang is behind, and I can't create an opportunity to score the goal because the Fang has the ball. I'm getting my Super back, but I am using my Gadget, and that won't be available for another almost 20 seconds. If I walk up to the Draco and Fang and then pop my Super, instead of using my Super and Gadget in this scenario, I think it's a good play, but because I use my Gadget here, I don't have it when I need it later. And our goal scoring opportunity just fizzles out. For this play, I want you to analyze and judge the motive means an opportunity yourself. Go in the comments and write what you think my MMO was, and I can't wait to see your answers for this. Once you're done with your analysis and your comment, feel free to move on to the next clip of this video. There's actually 2 plays I make here, so let's go over them one at a time. Starting with this one, which is actually the first example of a defense-oriented motive. I'm trying to stop a goal, but I'm also trying to stay alive here. Opportunity is an interesting one. While I obviously have a guaranteed hit on the bull, the only reason I have a guaranteed hit on the mortis is because the mortis is holding the ball, which makes it harder for him to dash away from my super. Taking everything into account, this is an excellent play. However, the one immediately following it is not. It's actually the first time in this video where I fail the opportunity, because the mortis is out of my range. For the last clip we're going to analyze, here's another situation where I misjudged my opportunity. As you could tell, I missed my Mandy with the Hyper Super. And you may be sitting there watching like, Bob, you killed the Mandy, it didn't matter. But it did, and let me show you. If this main attack had instead been a Poco Super, instead of fighting a 1v1 at an advantage, I'd be fighting a pure 1v2. And I would have wasted my hypercharge. This is why I needed to hit that Mandy with my super, and that fraction of a tile that I missed the Mandy by could have been the difference between scoring and not scoring the goal if the Poco was a little bit of a better player. Moving on to the second half of this play, you may be wondering why the Mortis didn't just super me here. The answer to that is because the Mortis would be basically wasting his super to kill me. He would only be able to hit one brawler, and he wouldn't heal off of his super because he's at full health. Is it the right play to make? Well, absolutely. I score if he doesn't super me, but by appearing to be a low value target, the Mortis would much rather try and deal with the other brawler coming into frame right now. And this is intentional. Look at where I was a few seconds ago. It's very possible that if I had stayed here, Mortis would have dashed onto me and tried to kill me that way, which I did not want to happen. By the time the Mortis has a high value super on me, I have the HP needed to survive it, and with a pass from the random, I have the goal. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching, and if you have any more questions about this topic, feel free to leave a comment and I'll answer to the best of my abilities. Have a great day, y'all. Bubble Eat You, signing out.